Your last really difficult conversation.
Oh, I'm sure we've all got a few of those in mind.
Right, like maybe you were negotiating a raise or arguing with a partner or, just trying to sound witty at a dinner party.
Yeah, and you were probably completely focused on your posture or your tone.
Exactly, like the specific words you chose to win the interaction. But what if none of that was actually about the other person at all?
That's a pretty wild thought.
It is. What if in every single interaction, we are essentially just trying to topple one final philosophical domino? Like we're searching for our own self-worth, constantly asking the question, am I enough?
That really gets to the core of it, doesn't it?
It really does. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we're pulling from a fascinating conversation on the Jefferson Fisher Clips YouTube channel to explore how masterful communication isn't just, well, a mechanical transaction.
Right, it's not just a set of parlor tricks.
Exactly. It is a profound pursuit of self-regulation. We're going to extract the core insights on the 5 ways to become a masterful communicator.
And this really completely flips the script on how we view connection. I mean, if you trace our motivations all the way down to the root, past the desire to sound smart, you hit this bedrock of shared human vulnerability.
Which is something we all share, whether we admit it or not.
Exactly. If you want to genuinely connect with others, you have to understand that underlying pursuit of validation. The strategies we're digging into today aren't about manipulating the person across from you.
Right, it's not about getting what you want from them.
No, not at all. They are about managing yourself so that true connection is actually possible.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting right at the bedrock you just mentioned. The very first point, the foundation of it all, is authenticity.
Yes. The premise here is incredibly blunt. If you cannot be genuine with someone, you are nobody to them.
But I have to push back on this right away because the idea of absolute authenticity just seems like a trap in polite society.
Really? How so?
Well, think about the classic workplace dilemma. A colleague walks up to you beaming with pride and asks what you think of their terrible, completely botched new haircut.
Oh, the bad haircut scenario.
Right. If I am being radically authentic, I have to say, wow, that looks awful. But that's just incredibly mean. Isn't lying in that moment like a necessary social lubricant?
It's the ultimate tightrope walk, isn't it? But you don't actually have to choose between crushing their spirit and completely compromising your own integrity.
Oh, wait, really? How do you avoid that?
You don't lie, but you pivot. You find the authentic truth that preserves their dignity. Instead of pretending you love it or destroying their joy, you simply say, it's an interesting choice. I'm really glad you like it.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you like it. That is incredibly subtle.
Yeah, you are removing yourself from the aesthetic judgment entirely. You don't have to personally like the haircut to give them worth.
Right, because you're acknowledging their happiness, not the haircut itself.
Exactly. You are authentically acknowledging that they are happy. But, it brings up a much heavier question. Like, why is it so hard for us to just be honest in the first place? Why do we instantly default to people-pleasing?
I mean, I would guess it's just a fear of rejection, right? No one wants to be the outcast.
That's the surface level, sure. But this often stems from a much deeper psychological survival mechanism.
Like from childhood.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of chronic people-pleasers grew up in environments that were physically or emotionally unsafe. When your childhood requires you to constantly read the room to avoid conflict, you're just always tense.
Always waiting for the next shoe to drop.
Right, so you learn to adapt to whatever the room needs you to be just to stay safe. You never actually learn to rest in your own identity.
That makes so much sense. It's like the difference between walking on a trampoline versus walking on solid ground.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, when you interact with a chronic people pleaser or a social chameleon, the ground is always shifting depending on who else walks into the room. They change colors to please everyone.
And because of that, you instinctively know you can't trust them.
Exactly, because they have no core. Whereas an authentic person is a solid anchor in a storm. You know exactly where they stand, which inherently makes you feel secure.
But, and this is crucial, you cannot be that solid ground if your attention is fractured. You can't be authentically engaged if you aren't actually present in the moment.
Which perfectly transitions into the second point. Reducing distractions to increase presence. This is where the source material uses an incredibly vivid metaphor that I want you, the listener, to visualize right now.
The red string metaphor.
Yes. Picture a bright red string. It's pulled taut, connecting your hand directly to the hand of the person you are talking to. As long as you are both engaged, that string stays tight.
It represents the living tension of your connection. And, well, we all know exactly what happens next in the modern world.
Someone grabs their phone.
Yep. The moment one person breaks eye contact and looks down at their phone, the string goes completely slack. Emotionally, it feels like a physical drop.
It really does. Like when you are pouring your heart out and the other person pulls out their screen, it registers as profound disrespect. The slack in the string is palpable.
And the reaction is almost involuntary. When you feel that slack, you intuitively let go of your end of the string. You just retreat.
It's like a contagion in a restaurant. One person pulls out a phone, and suddenly the other person feels so awkward just sitting there staring into space that they pull out their phone too.
And just like that, the connection is dead.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because I used to think I had a polite workaround for this. I thought that if I took my phone out, placed it on the table, but left it face down, I was being polite.
Oh, the classic face-down phone move.
Right. I thought it signaled, hey, I have a busy life, but I am ignoring it for you. Doesn't face down count as polite?
It's a very common rationalization, but the psychology here refutes that entirely. Having the phone on the table even face down is a lingering threat.
A threat, really.
Yeah. It is a physical signal to the other person that your world, your business, and your chaos are still sitting right there at the table like a third wheel. Fisher actually describes the phone as an emotional pacifier.
Wait, like a baby's safety blanket?
Exactly like that. We use it to avoid the mundane angst of existing. Waiting in line, sitting on train, or just enduring a lull in conversation.
Wow. So by placing it on the table, you are essentially asking your conversational partner, you aren't going to make me put my safety blanket entirely away, are you?
Precisely.
Yeah.
If you want to keep that red string taut, you have to remove the pacifier. True connection means leaving it in the car, or at least keeping it completely out of sight in a pocket.
But taking the pacifier away forces a really uncomfortable reality. When the phone is gone, you are forced to be utterly present. And when there's a lull in the conversation, the silence can feel absolutely deafening.
Which leads directly into the third point, the urge to fill that silence.
The dreaded habit of over-explaining.
Exactly. When people feel that silence, or when they feel insecure about their own expertise, they tend to turn into a waterfall.
A waterfall.
Yeah, they gush out information, talking in circles, just hoping to sweep the listener away in a flood of words. But over-explaining actually telegraphs insecurity.
So the alternative is to stop being a waterfall and become a well.
Exactly. A well is deep, still, and confident. It doesn't force water on anyone. You hold your knowledge confidently, and if someone has a question, they draw from you.
And the tactical advice to achieve this is remarkably simple, but incredibly difficult to execute. The rule is, let your first word be a breath.
Just a breath, rather than waiting until you are talking to figure out what you want to say.
I have to say, I marvel at the sheer audacity of this. Taking a deliberate 5 to 7 second pause before answering a question is excruciating.
It really is at first.
Think about a high-pressure corporate meeting. Someone challenges your idea and you sit there in total silence for 7 seconds. It feels like you're losing control of the room.
It feels that way internally, yes. But externally, it does the exact opposite. It's like calmly taking up extra physical space in the room, which commands immense respect.
It really is the ultimate sign of emotional regulation.
It's what the source calls the calm flight attendant concept.
Oh, I do this subconsciously. Every time there's severe turbulence on a flight, my eyes instantly dart to the flight attendants in the aisle.
We all do. We look to them to see if we should panic. If the plane is shaking violently, but the flight attendant is calmly pouring a ginger ale, our nervous system immediately downregulates.
We just tell ourselves they aren't panicking, so I am safe.
Exactly. And we do this in conversations every single day.
Yeah.
We are constantly scanning the room for the calm flight attendant.
There's a brilliant real-world example of this in the material about an employee named Oliver. He was just a masterclass in this emotional regulation.
Oh, the Oliver story is fantastic.
Yeah, the story goes that he could walk into his boss's office to deliver amazing news like, we just signed Uber for the entire country, with a completely calm, nonchalant demeanor.
But the real magic was how we handled the bad days.
Right. On days when the company was practically on fire, he would walk into the same office, deliver catastrophic news with the exact same calm energy.
And think about the trust that builds. Oliver acted as a true leader and emotional regulator for the team. When you take that breath, you become the Oliver of your environment.
Which is great for a business crisis, but knowing what to say is exponentially harder when the crisis is deeply personal.
Oh, absolutely.
When someone you care about is grieving or hurting, That silence we talked about feels impossible to navigate, which brings us to point number 4, dealing with sadness.
This is where we fail most often, despite our very best intentions. And there is one universally used phrase that we all need to completely eliminate from our vocabulary.
Let me know if you need anything.
Yes, it is arguably the worst possible thing you can say to a grieving person.
Wait, why? It feels so polite. We say it specifically because we want to help, but we don't want to overstep our bounds.
Because you aren't actually offering help, you are assigning them a chore.
A chore?
Yes, an obligation. When someone is in the acute phase of grief, they're struggling with basic executive function. By saying, "let me know," you are asking them to identify their logistical needs, formulate a plan, and delegate a task to you.
Wow. So you're basically alleviating your own discomfort of feeling helpless while placing a massive administrative burden squarely on their shoulders.
Exactly. You're giving them more work.
So what do we do instead? If we can't ask them how to help, what's the move?
Action over words. You just do the thing. You don't text and ask if they want you to mow the yard. You just show up and mow it. Bring the food, do the laundry. Remove the burden of choice.
But this raises an important question. When you are actually sitting with them, what do you say? Because the instinct is to offer platitudes like, they're in a better place now, or everything happens for a reason.
Which is incredibly isolating. Do not try to silverline their tragedy. What they need is validation.
Just validating the pain.
Right. Look them in the eye and say, nobody deserves this. This is totally unfair. You have to confirm that the unbearable way they are feeling is exactly how they should be feeling.
There's an incredibly touching story that highlights this, involving Samir from the YouTube channel Colin and Samir.
The house fire story.
Yeah. A few years ago, his house burnt down in the Palisades fire. He lost absolutely everything. 6 months later, Samir specifically remembered one text message from a friend.
Out of all the hundreds of messages, right?
Exactly. Out of all the generic "so sorry" texts, this one stood out because the friend offered a highly specific form of help. Specificity is just the hallmark of genuine care.
It proves you actually thought about the reality of their daily life. And this even applies to how we pray for people.
Oh, right, the thoughts and prayers default.
Yes. The advice here is profound. If you truly want to pray for someone, text them the actual prayer. Don't just announce you are doing it. Type out, "Dear God, give them strength today," and send it with zero expectation of a reply.
So, what does this all mean? We've talked deeply about how to support people in pain, but we have to pivot to the exact opposite scenario for point number 5.
Dealing with people trying to inflict pain on you.
Exactly. How do you maintain this masterful regulation when you are being insulted or belittled?
This is where weaponized curiosity becomes your greatest tool. When someone insults you, they are usually desperate for a reaction. But there is a highly effective 3-step defense mechanism that neutralizes this completely.
And step 1 takes us right back to the wall. You hold 5 to 7 seconds of uncomfortable silence.
Let the silence hang there. Step 2, you calmly ask them to repeat what they just said. I need you to say that again.
Just making them repeat it usually strips the venom right out of their mouth.
It does. And step 3 is where you completely turn the tables. You ask about their intent. You say, did you mean for that to sound rude?
Yeah.
Or did you mean to be hurtful?
Why does that specific phrasing work so well? It feels like magic.
It triggers cognitive dissonance, which is a powerful neuroscience concept. Almost everyone views themselves as a good person.
Nobody thinks they're the villain.
Right. So when you pause, remain calm, and ask if they intended to be hurtful, you force them to confront the massive disparity between their self-image and their terrible behavior.
And that gap creates immense psychological discomfort.
Exactly. To alleviate that discomfort, they also always backpedal and try to fix it.
This reminds me of the story about the guy in the gym. He was just using some equipment, and this angry guy marched up completely enraged, basically asking for a physical fight over the gym machines.
The ultimate test of emotional regulation.
Right. But this guy maintained a low, calm tone and deployed that genuine curiosity. He just asked, "Are you asking me for a fight right now?"
It's a masterstroke. The angry man wanted resistance to validate his anger. When he was met with calm curiosity, he didn't know what to do. The frame shifted, and he was completely disarmed.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And before we wrap, there were actually 3 quick bonus rules discussed for relationship resets, where the stakes are even higher.
Yes, for intimate communication. Rule 1, validate first, frustration second. Even if you disagree, you have to create a safe space for them to be messy before you try to fix the problem.
Rule 2 is the wild card.
I love this one. It's basically just asking for a reset. You just stop an argument and say, can I try saying that again?
It extends grace to both of you in real time, and the third rule is to slice it thinner.
Meaning, address one issue at a time instead of bringing up the past. No dragging a ruined vacation from 2019 into an argument about the dishes.
Exactly. Keep the conflict manageable.
So to summarize, all of this masterful communication isn't actually about manipulating others. It's about regulating yourself.
Being authentic, removing the phone pacifier.
Right, pausing like a calm flight attendant, offering specific help to the grieving, and using curiosity to disarm insults. And for you, the listener, applying just one of these tactics, like just taking a breath before answering a question tomorrow, can shift the entire dynamic of how you are perceived.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If all of these communication tactics ultimately boil down to a search for our own self-worth and proving that we are enough, what does our internal communication sound like?
Oh, that's a deep question.
What does our own inner monologue sound like when the red string is completely detached and no one else is around? Are we treating ourselves with the same deliberate 7-second pause of grace? Think about it. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.